And usually I just do a presentation and I do the dog, or introduce the dog. But this time I wanted to try something that I haven't done before, and that's a PowerPoint. I've never done one before. So I want to try and, you know, use you guys a little bit. But at the same time, this is going to prepare you more for what I'm trying to introduce you to. The volunteer opportunity in particular is a meet and greet, and I've hosted these since 2009. It's once a month, every third Sunday, and it's from 1 to 3. And what we do is we meet people at the pet store, and we introduce them to greyhounds and the opportunity to adopt a dog like this. This is Cosmo. He's 4. He's a great dog, but he's had a different life than a lot of dogs have. He's had a life where he's kind of been set with a bunch of other dogs and put in a situation where it's run and then it's in the crate and then run. And, you know, it's not a real loving. I mean, there are good trainers, but we'll kind of go over that. I tried to cut my speech down as much as I can, but I'll bring him back out in a minute.
Yeah. We'll discuss
it
later.
I have 2 dogs. This is Sean's dog. Okay. All right. So the speech I put together is called Racing into Our Hearts. It is my intent to inform about the transition of racing greyhounds from the track to the family home. The greyhound is a breed of sighthound, and there have been depictions of sighthounds and humans hunting together for thousands of years. So is it any surprise that greyhounds will claim a role of companion human today? I personally have been involved with greyhound rescues since 2005, when I rescued Katie Quick Getaway, and 6 months later his littermate Elsie. Greyhounds are bred for speed and used as hunting dogs even today, but the vast majority of greyhounds born today are an investment bound for the track and treated as livestock. So what happens to them after they finish running? First, I want to share a bit about the life of a greyhound from the breeder to the track and what they experience in the industrial system of greyhound racing. Next, I want you to follow the transition of their life at the track to the family and home. Finally, I want you to know what to expect when living with a greyhound. These dogs carry the blood of champions, so lineage and performance decide who has the potential to produce the next great generation of racers. According to the Greyhound Data website for anything you want to know about racing greyhounds, my dog Quick's sire, Molotov, who only raced in 2 races but broke 2 records and retired with a career-ending injury, has produced 7,736 offspring. Once a litter of pups is born, they will spend 3 months on the farm growing up and socializing. Then they get their ear tattoos, and the ear tattoos allow them to be registered with the National Greyhound Association and one day be able to race. And you guys can look at their tattoos later, but they all have tattoos when they're racing. They get those at 3 months old. Once they're registered, they train until they are ready to go to the racing field. Some greyhounds never get tattooed. If the sire is unknown, then their lineage is untraceable, and that leaves them unable to compete. These lucky dogs can be adopted as puppies. This is a friend of mine, Pam. She just got back, and she's really happy. Greyhound racing is a business, and speed is the reason that it's so exciting. Going from 0 to 43 miles an hour in 3 strides and lasting for up to 7/16 of a mile, the competition in these races can be brutal. At the track, greyhounds are treated as an investment. The faster they run, the more they earn, so they are kept in top physical condition. There are 30 to 50 dogs in a kennel. Each dog has its own crate with fresh water and newspaper to make bedding. While in the racing kennel, they are fed raw meat diet or high protein diet. The crate actually gives them the security of having their own space. I really don't know much about track and racing part of their lives. I only know where I've read or heard secondhand. But Greyhound Pets of America in Nashville hosts an event each fall, and the dogs get to run sprints. My dog Elsie love this. I remember the first time we did this, as we waited in line for her to turn to race, she would pull and prance and go back and forth. You could tell she was in her element. She was where she wanted to be. I don't know what she felt about the other elements, but I know she loved to race. I asked my friend, Dr. Carol Macri, what she thinks about racing. She's a doctor of veterinary medicine, and she has owned at least one racer. Not just a retired racer. She owned a racer that was actually racing. She said, her reply was, it includes some evil people and some dedicated souls who love the dogs. There are horrid dog people in all breeds. Greyhounds have the best safety net of any breed. As racing fades away, so will this breed. Racing is a dying sport, and there will come a time when you won't have a greyhound to adopt. The loss of this breed is a supreme tragedy, and it will happen because short-sighted people can't think past the bad things that happen at the track and appreciate the merits of a sport that makes these dogs who they are. There are a few greyhounds that actually retire and live their lives out with a breeder. As for the rest, some age out, while others get slower and fail to qualify. A veterinarian can remove the dog from racing. But many sustain a career-ending injury and they're able to recover, but they never race again. Even though these animals have lost their value to the racing industry, they still have many years of life, and they just need to make a transition from livestock to pets. There are a couple of ways to adopt. If you have experience, you may want to rescue one right from the track. I asked my friend Shauna about rescuing straight from the track. She said, we had to fill out an application online and put down a deposit. We had to give references and ensure that our dogs were under veterinary care. The process differs in that when you adopt straight from the track, the dog has been fostered. They have not been through a foster home, so they don't know about things like hardwood floors and television sets and ceiling fans. So it's just like getting a fully grown puppy. Whereas with an adoption group, you get a little bit more information about the dog, and you get a reference source, and you get a little bit more. The initial process is a little different. When you go through the group, Greyhound Pets of America Nashville, they arrange transportation from Florida, Arkansas, and other states, and celebrate the arrival with a dog wash day. A volunteer from the foster family will meet the transport and bring their dog to a refreshing bath to help them recover from the long ride. Next, they are double-checked by a vet because adoptable dogs must be spayed or neutered before they can be adopted. Then each dog is microchipped and given shots. The volunteer from the foster family stays with the dog through this entire process. This is the beginning of the transition from being livestock to being a pet. Once a retired racer arrives at a home, the foster family will begin to ascertain its personality. The main questions are, is a cat safe? Is a small dog safe? Is a small child safe? These are important questions because, for example, placing a dog that's not cat safe in a home with cats is a recipe for disaster. GPA has fun and informative blogs for the adoptable dogs that relate their triumphs and tribulations, and potential adopters can see their progress as they are making their transition. Dogs aren't the only ones with work to do though. We ask our adopter, or what we call our applicants, to fill out an application, and the process involves specific needs that greyhounds have. We ask them to read Retired Racing Greyhounds for Dummies. This is a book that gives them a lot of information about reference, about what to do in certain situations. Also having the group available, you have a lot of people that have a lot of experience. On the application, it will ask questions about cats, small dogs, and small children inside your home. These questions allow GPA to narrow down the list of adoptables that are most suitable for your specific home, or for a specific home. Volunteer representatives from GPA then type the dogs for a home visit. At this time, the representative will ascertain the home and decide if they find the household unfit. They will let the family know that there are serious concerns and that the adoption process is over. If the home is found to be safe and you feel confident, then 3 dogs will spend about 3 hours in the home and the right one stays. This is when the selection is made, and the lucky greyhound has found its forever. One decision is made and the dog stays. Once the decision is made and the dog stays, the real transformation begins. Greyhounds are intelligent dogs, therefore training and socializing are important. Because they always had a routine at the track, greyhounds will feel more comfortable with a reliable schedule. So getting them on a set routine helps them acclimate to their new surroundings and reduces the likelihood of accidents and stress. Credit may be necessary, and integrating it into the house can be a good idea, but I don't use one at my house. Treating and verbally reinforcing are important and some of the easiest ways to train good behavior. Training is the best way to increase two-way communication. In my experience, a true transformation happened for me when my dog Quick taught me how dogs can communicate emotionally with humans in ways that we may not completely understand. I couldn't imagine living without dogs. Adams Place is a retirement home where residents are allowed to have pets. So I would bring my retired racers Quick and Elsie to see residents in healthcare, rehabilitation, and the dementia ward. I'm going to read part of an article that I wrote in the GPA newsletter back in 2009. The article is called "A New Job for Retired Racers." One of the most touching visits was when Quick interacted with a hunched-over patient who looked wilted and shut down. He stood beside her and waited. Her hand opened up, shaking, and very slowly it moved over to rest on his back. That simple touch seemed to rejuvenate her. She opened up and smiled. All it took was being patient and communicating the way dogs can. I really can't explain exactly what happened that day, but that woman's daughter was standing on the other side of the lobby, and she told me her mother had not moved that way in a month. Her hand was barely shaking. It was smooth, almost like an instinctual movement. Her daughter was crying. We've gone on a journey from Breeder's Farm, to where most greyhounds are born, to the racing kennel and track and life in the fasting. We then looked at what happens when they leave the kennel to adoption, either from the track or the transport hauler to the delivery in the adoption program. Finally, to a new life and a new set of rules, where the value of your life is left to live is learned. That's it.
Thank you. Want to grab a cookie and see if he'll do his trick?
Well, I don't know, but what we're really here to do is we're kind of here to promote getting volunteers to kind of look at helping other people understand a lot of what I just said. This is my dog, Joey. It's a very rewarding thing to work with GPA. If you have the time to foster, or the ability to foster, or the time to come by. Our meet and greets only take about 2 hours, and we probably could say that you spent 3 hours working on the project. It's very low key, but it does help people understand, and people that understand why it's important to do this are the kind of people that we want to help us. So that's it. If you want to come say hi to him, don't be afraid.
Because he's certainly not afraid of any of you.